So you've got a vast sort of array of experiences and things, but now you're part of the Xcel project in Carmarthen. I don't know if anyone's been. Has anyone been to the Xcel project? Yeah. The thing that was of interest to me, by the way, is it's a social enterprise. So it has a social enterprise business format and style to it, and yet it's a bowling alley. And I've done a lot of work with social enterprises over the years, and bowling alleys are not the norm.
They're not the norm, and I'll be honest with you, coming from a church background involved in church leadership for years, when I would often speak to people or friends and they'd ask me, what are you up to these days? And I'd say, I'm working for Tower Community Church and I felt like I had to apologise for saying that the church was building a bowling alley, okay, because it just doesn't go together, and you didn't really want to say it because they'd be looking at you saying, surely there's something better you can be doing, Mrs. Wales, as a church than building a bowling alley. And sometimes there are, but if you look at the bowling alley being a funding mechanism to allow an organisation to get its social aims done, within churches, within our church, most things would be funded by people's offerings into the church every week. Okay? These days, those offerings can be used for other things because all the social aspects of what we try to do as a church are now funded by the bowling alley. So really, the bowling alley is just a funding mechanism, but it's a fantastic, great facility on top of that. So.
And this is really unusual because, I mean, I was at an event last week talking about social entrepreneurs, and you know, a lot of the time when we think about social enterprise, there's this discussion around lack of money, and they want funding, and they need help, and all of this. And yet you're saying that actually you're using this social enterprise as a mechanism to do charitable works.
Definitely, and I think it's always it's difficult from our perspective. You want to be able to do something in your community, and often with social enterprises, they've got great passion to do something, but often, a lot of charities, they really want to impact the community maybe with what they're offering, but often there's no underpinning there to keep that going. So in most cases, if it's grant funding involved and that grant funding is run out, suddenly you can't carry on. So one of the main areas that we focused on from day one was sustainability for the business. And I'm quite passionate, I want to help people, and that was very difficult because so often from the beginning we really wanted to help as many people as we could through the project, but that in some areas would have left us in a situation where financially it would have affected us. So was making sure that that the business was up and running financially first. So we had a 5-year business plan in place. There are times I've wanted to progress and move slightly from the business plan to show that we're doing more. But I've got people around me who mentor and help me and say, oh, come on, Paul, let's make sure that this is not a 5-year project, that this is a 10, 20, 30-year project that is sustainable. And actually, I was only speaking last week.
Because a lot of the time when I'm pulled into charities and social enterprise projects, I'm often asked to go in because it's failing, and my job is to make it sustainable, whereas you're saying, well, actually that's really hard, and I agree with you, it is really hard. It's much better to do it from the beginning. Sometimes that means that we have to make tough choices, but if we want to actually help people in the long term,
you've got to make those choices.
You've got to make those choices, and that was really nice that I was hearing it from you, that you know it can be done, and it's not impossible to do that. And I know, even though you accept you can't always help everybody at the moment because it's a longer term project, you do an awful lot within the organisation with the people you recruit in as well, that you don't just see them as the mechanism for helping other people, but your role is to help them as well. So talk to me about your staff and how that works.
So we, initially we were supposed to have 17 staff there. Next weekend coming up will be our 3rd year with the bowling alley being open. Okay, we're now running about 42. So massive difference, massive difference there.
Was that because you underestimated how many staff you really need?
Yes. Well, yes, in that, well, I'm going to say, right, if this was a commercially led, commercially pushed bowling alley, for instance, like the franchise ones you've got across South Wales, they would work on the less staff. I can tell you that now. They'd work on the less staff. Because overall, in a lot of places, they really don't really care if you come back again, because the next person will come in and spend their money anyway. But in a locality like Carmarthen, which is quite close-knit, people know what goes on, people can see what's happening there. Service is at the top of our list. At the top of our list. If you go on TripAdvisor and have a look at our ratings on TripAdvisor, we have a very high rating for service. Why? Because we've actually put staff in there to make sure that people have the service that they should have there. Could we work on less? Definitely. Yeah, could easily, and you'd make more money. But in fact, long term, I think you'd see you wouldn't get the objective you want, which is actually to make sure that people have the service they should have there, and that the ethos of what we try to portray as an organisation is seen in everything we do. So in a lot of areas, we will train staff, we'll go through different areas with them, we will look at, a lot of our staff are young, some of them have done maybe just come out of university, we have some of them who've got degrees, some of them who are really well qualified. I wonder what they do with us some days, why they come, okay? But often they've come out maybe not been in a work environment below. It's great to hear you this morning about how people maybe come straight out of university or straight out of school, never have to interact with people, general public.
People say to me, well, we've empowered our staff, and it's a fantastic catch-all phrase, isn't it? I've empowered my staff, so therefore they should know what they're doing. But what you're saying is, in order for them to do that, you have discussions and role play and
we do, and we have team meetings, role plays, and I or the rest, we have two other managers that work with me in the bowling alley, so I have oversight for the whole project. Then we have a bowling alley manager and a cafe manager, and to be honest, we would never ask the staff to do anything that we wouldn't do ourselves across the project. So when it comes to maybe situations like that, we will sit down, I'll have a chat. I quite often will sit down and have a coffee with a chat member during the week, if it's quiet, and talk about different situations they'll go through, how they would deal with it, how maybe they could deal with it differently. 9 times out of 10, they'll come up with the answer. Most young people, what they lack is actually confidence. They can work it out actually. They just need people to come alongside and say, yes, yeah, that's right, and allow them to hear their own voice. And sometimes they think, I don't really know what I'm saying, I don't know what I'm going to do, and allow them to do that.
And that was interesting, because Anna was saying similar just now that, Cash has a coach, and sometimes all the coach says is, well, what are your options? And actually that's all that you sometimes need, is somebody else just saying to you, well, what do you think? And that learning comes from that, because you're reflecting.
And I think, like what Anna said, I think doing something different in your life makes a massive difference. I mean, this project has taken 7 years of my life. And I would say 2 years in, especially through the build phase, which I was on site, I would sometimes work till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning on site. Okay, it takes a lot of passion and commitment to get things going. Okay, and majority of the projects you see are people who are entrepreneurs here. They would be very passionate people. Okay, but let me tell you, work and passion tires you out. So unless you can renew that passion, I've always thought passion is like fizzy pop. You can shake a bottle, it just goes for it. Okay, but give it 10 minutes cover now and that pop is flat. Unless you put carbon dioxide back in and get something back into that. And you've got to renew that all the time. They're all quite unique, and what we bring is a uniqueness to whatever organisation we're in. And that's something that nobody else can do. Only you can do, because of what you bring into that. So based on that, I have some great people around me who help me. Next door to us we have Nolan Windows, Nolan Nicholas, the owner there. I would say at least once a month he'll give me a call and a chat, say, Paul, come over, let's have a chat, to sit down and a cup of coffee. And there's someone who is a commercial driven company, okay, but just wants to make sure I'm okay. And I'll run things by him. Michael Morgan from Morgan & Morgan, Brian Jones from Castle Cowell. There are people who I've actually got alongside and said, do you mind? And tell you what, 9 times out of 10, it's such incredible people say, no, come on Paul, if you want to chat, and they give you incredible time like that. a wealth of knowledge. This is what I've learned more and more. It's difficult when you want to lead and when you're focused. It's to hand things over to other people. And so I said to her, tell you what, Glenys, if you're really serious about this, I want you to come back to me. Now, this is a volunteer with a business plan, an idea of how you see this running. 2 days later, she came back. She said, I'm going to need 25 to do it. Right, we'll have to 5 volunteers. Said that we can't afford 25 more staff. Don't worry, leave that to me. Said, I'm going to need £500 to set it up. As long as you set it up, you've got the £500. What else do you want? Oh, don't worry, I can take care of everything else. Get on with it. So she went down Shanghai, WI, they're all there now. Every morning, 25 of them, and it's unbelievable. And am I involved? Yeah, I pop in to every other project every day just to say hello and to thank those volunteers, because our project, even though we employ 42, could not run without the volunteers that are involved in it. It's also making sure that they are valued, that you know, that they see, even for myself, that I go down and thank them, that I take an interest in their lives. I know all their names, I know their background, what's going on in their stories, everything. Not because I feel it's important that we know what's going on and that they feel so valued in what they achieve.
It's just so inspiring, the fact that not only have you ended up becoming an entrepreneur, not necessarily by plan, and not for your own direct financial gain, but you're also allowing other people to become entrepreneurs. You've got Glenys there with the shop.
Definitely with the shop, you know, and a lot of the staff we have coming through with us, like I said, some of the ones with the degrees, I've already sat down with some of them and said, you know, let's be honest, in a year's time, you shouldn't really be here. They can achieve so much more. And all it does is that if we can give them the confidence of how to deal and talk to people and go through circumstances in life, give them that confidence that when they go for the next job, they're not going just with head knowledge or something they've learned, they're going with life experience. And what I encourage young people to do is go volunteer somewhere. Get some experience, help out. We've actually employed at least 5 people who volunteered in our project. At least 5 young people who've come in. Why? Because I've seen what they contributed, they've had that experience, and I'm looking at it, right, they're not going to be with me long term, but on their CV, somebody will have seen they've not only got head knowledge of something they've learned, they've got life experience of how to deal with people, and that goes a long, long way. I didn't have a degree, and often when I went for a job, I couldn't get to the job. Why? Because I didn't have the qualification, but I would have had the life experience for the job, so it's important to have both there together.
To finish off, when we spoke last week, you said that a member of your staff was thinking of going back to college or university,
right. Yeah.
And they weren't sure, and they were thinking of doing music. Is that
Music,
right?
that's right, she is.
And what did you do for them?
Well, we're going to sponsor them.
And what else did you do because you wasn't sure?
Well, I took it up. My brother Andrew writes film score music, does a lot of library music. At the moment, he makes all his money from the CBBS birthday song. Let me tell you, when he did his music degree, he never wanted that, okay? But he gets paid a nice amount of money because he's played it 5 or 6 times every day. And that's his song. He sings it, he wrote it, everything. So you only need a few songs like that to make a living, okay? So I wanted to inspire her. And she's a great musician, great writer, good singer. So I took her up there for the morning, in our time, and left her with my brother for 2 hours, just to be inspired. He's been in music for 25 years, left with a straight music degree, and I wanted her to see that, yes, you can do something, but you have the right break, get in touch with the right people. My brother was fortunate, I'm a musician myself. For the first 4 years of my life, I was a session musician, and that came from a guy in Swansea, and if you're from Swansea, you know Mal Pope. And Mal Pope happened to see us do a brass session in the studio, and from that, we had about 5 years of work, and my brother Andrew picked up a load of work, because sometimes Mal was offered projects that weren't his type of cup of tea, but would fit my brother Andrew, who's a composer. So my brother does work these days with the internet and everything. You know, most of his work is based in America, but of course these days, half the people he works with, he's never even met, because it's all done via Skype or whatever, back and forth, and he does like that. So we took her there, and over the next year we're going to sponsor. She's doing a master's in music. we're going to sponsor her because I think she can achieve so much in what she's trying to do. And if she doesn't come back to us, great. Doesn't matter. Does it really matter? I'll give somebody else an opportunity. And in fact, we've just employed now actually to take her place. We've employed this gentleman early so that he has that opportunity to build up and see how we want to serve and how we want to run the business and how we want to project and display ourselves to the customers.